Why is crime in Japan so low? When I first arrived in Japan, I was a wide-eyed, naive American with no idea what I was getting myself into. Like most foreigners, I was prepared for sushi, samurai, and lots of bowing. What I wasn't prepared for was how safe it felt. Imagine walking around at 3 a.m. in a major city, not a care in the world, knowing full well that the most dangerous thing you'll encounter is probably a salaryman who's had one too many glasses of shochu. It's a far cry from the dark alleys of America, where you'd half expect to be mugged by a pigeon. But why is Japan so safe? What's the secret sauce that keeps the crime rate so low? I mean, it's not like they're patrolling the streets with samurai swords anymore. Let's dive into this curious case of Japan's low crime rates, and maybe by the end, we'll have cracked the code, or at least found a decent explanation. The myth of the polite society, more than just bowing. If you've ever been to Japan, you'll know that politeness is as ingrained in the culture as miso soup in a Japanese breakfast. People here bow when they greet you, bow when they say goodbye, and probably bow when you're not even looking. This level of respect extends to just about every aspect of life. But does being polite really stop people from committing crimes? Well, yes and no. You see, in Japan, there's a deep-rooted cultural value known as wa, which roughly translates to harmony. Keeping the peace and maintaining harmony within society is paramount. From a young age, Japanese children are taught to prioritize the group over the individual, to be considerate of others, and, most importantly, not to cause trouble. You don't want to be the person who upsets the balance, the one who sticks out like a sore thumb. In a society where blending in is prized, criminal behavior isn't just frowned upon, it's unthinkable. But don't get me wrong, Japanese people aren't walking around like Stepford wives, all programmed to behave. It's more about a collective understanding that harmony is best maintained by adhering to the rules. It's like an unspoken agreement that everyone signed, and breaking that agreement is not just a crime against the law, it's a crime against the community. The omnipresent Koban, Japan's tiny police stations with a big impact. Now, let's talk about the Koban, those small, often adorable police stations you see dotted around every neighborhood. These little outposts are manned by officers who are as much a part of the community as your local ramen shop owner. They're not just there to enforce the law, they're there to help you find your way if you're lost, return your lost wallet, and even give you directions to the nearest convenience store when you're desperate for an onigiri. The Koban system is a stroke of genius. It's community policing at its finest. The officers in these stations know the area like the back of their hand, and they're familiar with the people who live there. This creates a sense of accountability and trust between the police and the public. You're not just another faceless citizen, you're someone they recognize, someone they might have helped out in the past. And because of this relationship, people are more likely to report crimes, and in turn, the police are more effective at preventing them. But it's not just the presence of Koban that deters crime, it's the visibility of law enforcement in general. You see, Japan's police aren't hidden away in patrol cars, only appearing when something goes wrong. They're out there, on the streets, walking among the people. And let me tell you, nothing makes you rethink jaywalking like the sight of a police officer casually strolling down the street. It's like having your mom's watchful eye on you at all times. The unwritten rules of Japanese society, following the law because everyone else does. One of the things that baffles most foreigners about Japan is the concept of gammon. This is the idea of enduring something unpleasant with patience and dignity. Whether it's standing in a crowded train carriage during rush hour or waiting in line for hours just to get a taste of the latest food trend, Japanese people are masters of gammon. They suck it up and get on with it, without complaint and without causing a scene. So, how does gammon tie into low crime rates? Well, it's all about self-restraint. In a society that values endurance and patience, people are less likely to lash out or resort to criminal behavior, even when faced with frustrating situations. There's a collective understanding that everyone's in the same boat, so why rock it? When everyone else is following the rules, it becomes much harder to justify breaking them. It's like being at a party where no one's drinking. You're not going to be the one to bust out the tequila shots, are you? The role of shame and honor, avoiding crime to save face. In Japan, the concept of face is a big deal. Losing face, whether through failure, embarrassment, or shame, is something to be avoided at all costs. And while in the West, you might be able to shrug off a minor scandal with a half-hearted apology, in Japan, the repercussions can be far more serious. The fear of bringing shame not just upon oneself, but upon one's family, workplace, or even community is a powerful deterrent against criminal behavior. This sense of honor and shame is deeply embedded in Japanese culture, and it's not something that's taken lightly. Even a small transgression can have significant social consequences. Imagine being caught stealing or committing a violent act. Not only would you face legal repercussions, but you'd also have to deal with the shame of being known as the person who brought dishonor to your family. It's like the scarlet letter, but instead of an A, you're branded with a giant G for guilt. A well-oiled machine, Japan's efficient legal system. Japan's legal system is nothing if not efficient. The conviction rate here is famously high, around 99%, which, let's be honest, sounds a bit suspicious until you realize that the system is designed to ensure that only cases with substantial evidence go to trial. In other words, if you've been charged with a crime, the chances are they've got you dead to rights. This efficiency means that people are less likely to commit crimes in the first place. The knowledge that you'll almost certainly be caught and convicted acts as a powerful deterrent. It's like playing a game where you know the house always wins, you're just not going to take the risk. But it's not just the threat of being caught that keeps crime rates low. Japan's legal system also focuses heavily on rehabilitation rather than punishment. The idea is to reintegrate offenders back into society rather than ostracize them. This approach not only reduces the likelihood of reoffending, but also helps to maintain that all-important social harmony. The low crime paradox. Are things really as perfect as they seem? Now, before we all start packing our bags and moving to Japan for its crime-free utopia, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, Japan's crime rates are low, remarkably low, in fact, but that doesn't mean it's a perfect society. Like any country, Japan has its share of problems. Domestic violence, for example, is underreported, and there are issues with how the legal system handles certain types of crimes, particularly those involving sexual assault. And then there's the fact that Japan's low crime rates are partly due to the culture of conformity. While this has its benefits, it also means that people are sometimes reluctant to speak out against wrongdoings, especially if it means going against the grain. So, while Japan is undeniably safe, it's important to recognize that there's more to the story than just what the statistics show. What we can learn from Japan's low crime rates. So, why is crime in Japan so low? It's a combination of factors: a strong sense of community, the ever-watchful presence of the police, cultural values that prioritize harmony and self-restraint, and a legal system that emphasizes efficiency and rehabilitation. But perhaps the most significant factor is the mindset of the people themselves. In Japan, following the rules isn't just about avoiding punishment, it's about maintaining the social fabric that holds the country together. While Japan's approach to crime prevention might not work everywhere, there's certainly something to be said for the power of community and cultural values in creating a safe and harmonious society. So next time you find yourself walking through a quiet Japanese street at night, take a moment to appreciate the unique blend of factors that make this country one of the safest in the world. And remember, if you do lose your wallet, it'll probably be waiting for you at the nearest Koban, cash intact, of course.